Join us on this 7.5 miles kayak from Shepherd's Patch to the Pilot Inn on the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal on the 7th of June 2024. Watch on to find out about Slimbridge Wetland Centre, Saul Junction Marina and the many swing bridges that we've paddled under on this trip. Find out what it's like to paddle one of the widest and deepest canals in the UK, and most importantly, learn about what pubs there are on this route. This kayak on the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal was a 7.5 miles one-way route from Shepherd's Patch to the Pilot Inn. We launched from Shepherd's Patch at 2 p.m. After paddling northwards up the canal, we passed Frampton-on-Severn and Saul Junction Marina. We landed at the Pilot Inn in South Gloucester at 5:30 p.m. It's 2 p.m. and we're just launching from Shepherd's Patch, just upstream from the Patch Swing Bridge. On the other side of the canal over there, you've got the Black Shed Cafe. We're just paddling northwards or upstream out of Shepherd's Patch, and there's loads of boats moored up on the canal side. Just to the west of Shepherd's Patch is Slimbridge Wetland Reserve, which cares for and studies huge numbers of ducks, geese and swans. Upstream of Shepherd's Patch we came to the Cambridge Arms Swing Bridge, one of 18 swing bridges on the canal between Gloucester and Sharpness. The swing bridges swing open to let the canal boats through. Kayakers can just paddle underneath them, but as you can see from the inset footage from my iPhone, you have to duck a bit to squeeze through. This was our third trip on the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal, being the final section that we'd yet to paddle. The Gloucester and Sharpness Canal is much wider than most of the other canals that we've paddled. The canal opened in 1827 as a ship canal and was once the broadest and deepest in the world. The canal runs for 16.5 miles from Gloucester down to Sharpness, its aim being to bypass the difficult to navigate stretch of the Severn River below Gloucester. The canal is 86 foot or 26 metres wide and 18 foot or 5.5 metres deep. Even today its sheer scale and engineering is impressive. The docks at Gloucester at the northern end of the canal continue to be busy with commercial traffic through to the 1960s. Sharpness docks at the southern end of the canal are still active, although there is now little commercial traffic on the canal itself, with it having been replaced by pleasure craft and kayakers of course. You require a waterways licence in order to paddle on the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal, and also on other canals or waterways managed by the Canal and River Trust. If you join Paddle UK or Canoe Wales, then membership includes the waterways licence, and this seems to be the best way to get the licence. The waterways licence gives you access to 5,000 miles of inland waterways in England and Wales. While stoppages on canals are relatively rare, it's worth checking on the Canal and River Trust website for any stoppages on the canal you intend to paddle before you go. We just passed a couple of friendly swans on the canal who've come over looking for food. I wish I brought my swan feed with me now so I could have fed this very friendly swan who seems to be trying to get into our kayak. There's a rather grandiose old lockkeeper's house over there with classical pillars as we approach Splat Swing Bridge. I don't want to splat my head on Splat Swing Bridge, so I better duck. The headroom is only 0.9 metres apparently. Over there on the right you've got St Mary the Virgin's Church in Frampton-on-Severn, which apparently dates back to the Middle Ages. There's a pair of swans over there with 6 young cygnets. I bet they're a handful to look after. In the background you can see the mighty Severn River that runs parallel to the lower half of the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal. The Severn River is the longest river in the UK, running for 220 miles or 354 kilometres. At the date of us making this video, we'd only paddled some of the non-tidal sections of the Severn River above Gloucester. Below Gloucester, the Severn River is very tidal. The Severn estuary has an astonishingly high tidal range of 15 metres or 50 feet. This is the second largest tidal range in the world. Regarding logistics, at Shepherd's Patch we parked at the Slimbridge car park, which is only about 200 metres down the road from the Patch Swing Bridge. When we had paddled from Shepherd's Patch to Sharpness on a previous occasion, we had parked at the Tudor Arms Hotel, which is right next to Patch Swing Bridge, but we did check with them first, and we did go back there for food and drinks after our paddle. At the Pilot Inn at Hardwicke, we had left our second vehicle in the car park of the Pilot Inn. We had checked with the Pilot Inn that this was okay, and they were a very friendly bunch and fine with us doing so. We did go back to the Pilot Inn for a beer at the end of the paddle, and we would have had food there, but we'd already arranged to meet a friend at Gloucester for food. We're approaching Frethern Swing Bridge at Frampton-on-Severn. It looks quite low, so I think we're going to have to do some more limbo dancing. As you can see, it's a bit of a squeeze to get under Frethern Swing Bridge at Frampton-on-Severn. It's a bit lower than the other bridges that we passed already. We've had to duck right down and pull ourselves along using the underneath of the bridge. Almost there. There's a rather unusual boat over there which looks a bit like a Spanish galleon. I hope they don't open up and give us a broadside as we're paddling past, or we could be in trouble otherwise. Looks like an old Coast Guard boat moored up over there. I expected the Coast Guard would put on a high alert when they heard that the kayak crew were out in the water again. We're at Saul Junction Marina, which apparently is one of the places where you can land and launch on the canal. It's time to duck again as we squeeze under Saul Junction swing bridge. There are only 2 locks at either end of the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal, so you haven't got the hassle of having to portage around any locks on this canal. We had previously done 2 other trips on the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal. The first was a twilight 4-mile trip from the northern end of the canal at Gloucester Docks to the Pilot Inn. The second was a 5.5-mile paddle from Shepherd's Patch down to the southern end of the canal at Sharpness Marina. We have uploaded videos of both of those trips to our Gloucester and Sharpness Canal playlist. We are doing a separate video on our YouTube channel covering our trips along the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal, and are also doing a blog post on our website about kayaking this canal. This will cover all of the launch and landing points along the canal to help you to plan your own routes along it. The Gloucester and Sharpness Canal is a great waterway to paddle, and we really enjoyed all 3 trips that we did on the canal, in particular the pub stops. We had decided to paddle this route from Shepherd's Patch to the Pilot Inn because the weather forecast said that it would be quite windy and that the winds would be blowing from the southwest. We therefore wanted to paddle with the wind behind us rather than paddling against the wind. We approached the park end swing bridge and prepared to brace ourselves for more underwater gymnastics to squeeze under another bridge. Some of the 18 swing bridges on the canal are not actually that low, but many of them were a bit of a squeeze to get under, although it doesn't take that much to challenge our physical flexibility these days. While squeezing under the swing bridges does slow you up a little, it's far easier and quicker than having to portage around locks like you have to with many canals or rivers. Concerning pubs and restaurants on this route, the Tudor Arms at Shepherd's Patch is a great pub next to Patch Swing Bridge. We had a great meal at the Tudor Arms after our Shepherd's Patch to Sharpness kayak on a previous occasion. The Tudor Arms is a lovely pub with an awesome selection of beers and ciders. The Pilot Inn at Hardwicke is another great old canal-side pub steeped in history. We had a beer at the Pilot Inn after this paddle and enjoyed chilling in the beer garden overlooking the canal while we rested our weary shoulders. The Pilot Inn apparently, in days gone by, became a popular attraction for visitors from Gloucester who could arrive at the pub by boat and alight on a landing stage that had direct access to the pub's garden. The end was in sight as the Pilot Inn came into view ahead of us. On this trip we used the blue 2 or 3 person model of the Itiwit X100 inflatable kayak. This is a hybrid inflatable with a high pressure drop stitch floor and lower pressure side tubes. We have done a full review of the 2 or 3 person model of the Itiwit X100 on our product reviews playlist of our channel. The Sellers Swing Bridge and the Pilot Inn marked the end of our odyssey on the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please give us a thumbs up and consider clicking on the left below to subscribe to our channel. Click on the right below for other videos about trips on the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal. Please check out our website, which is linked below. Happy paddling from the kayak crew.